Just wanted to talk a little bit about our Table Rock Webb Elite Outdoors tournament that was at the end of September. I started day one. I thought I had a pretty good pattern from practice the weekend before. A lot of those things actually changed on me. And hindsight being 2020, there's probably one or two things I should have went ahead and explored. And I didn't make the run in time to a certain area of the lake to make that happen, and so that's on me. So want to talk a little bit about what I did. We'll show you some video of what was going on as well, some live action video. But I want to take you into what I was actually catching my fish. So just to recap, day one, I finished the day with a limit that weighed 11.5 pounds and was sitting in 12th place. Going into day two. Day two started off better than day one. I had two fish earlier and then turned around and only caught 4 total keepers. So it got a little tough on me. I had about a 5-hour stretch there where I just couldn't buy a bite. I don't know what happened. But I just couldn't buy a bite. Went to several of my favorite docks I've caught fish on in the past, places where the fish were for me shallow, they went away. The crankbait bite went away for the smallmouth, and I should know better than to base my Ozark lakes just on smallmouth. Every time I base things on smallmouth, they move and they're not as predictable for me. And so when they're there and they're biting, they're great. But the most predictable thing I can do is base my fish off of patterns off of largemouth for sure. So anyway, cutting to the point of things, I caught all of my fish on day one after 12 o'clock. All my keepers. I caught some short fish early, couldn't get the crankbait bite going, couldn't get a topwater bite going for 2 weekends in a row, and so I went flipping docks. I didn't want to sit out there with the boat traffic and drag a football jig Carolina rig, so I went flipping docks. I flipped docks from the main lake to the backs of the creeks. I flipped isolated docks. I flipped great big giant docks. Really, there were a couple of patterns starting to formulate where I was catching some decent largemouth in the backs of the creeks, catching some Kentuckies out deeper, obviously off the, especially in the afternoon when they would suspend. And so my 3 baits, one was a Texas rigged baby destroyer creature bait. I really like this bait. Dominic got me started on this bait. I have not fished it as much as he has, but what I did notice when I Texas rigged this one, because it's got a little flatter profile, it skips up under the docks better, and so I could get that on a Texas rig farther up under the docks. It's a really soft bait. It's garlic scented. Fish were biting that. I weighed 3 of my keeper fish on Saturday from this bait, and one of my fish on Sunday from this bait. I also sometimes use this homemade one we make. It looks like a little Berkeley Power Hog. I did not use it as much during this tournament. And then of course just the plain old baby brush hog. I love the Texas rig baby brush hog. The other technique, and I shouldn't tell you this with a baby brush hog, but I like to use shaky heads, heavier shaky heads, 5/16, 3/8, quarter-ounce shaky heads. This is a homemade shaky head that we make here in the garage with a wide gap hook. I really like that. It's a thin wire wide gap hook shaky head. I fish that on that little baby brush hog especially when I'm doing lighter line. That thin wire hooks helps with penetration. And then a homemade one, just with a round bend, heavier hook. This is a great little flipping one for 15, 17 pound line. Probably one of my go-tos around docks with a baby brush hog. And then I've also done some with this crocagator, like the flat head for skipping under docks and the hook. And so 5/16 is probably my go-to, but I do some 3/8 and some 1/4 ounces as well. Depends on my line size. But basically just flipping docks with that. I will say that shaky head, if you're just struggling for bites, that shaky headed brush hog with, for Kentuckies especially, or suspended fish under docks, there's just something to it. So I would encourage you to give that a try. But that's the two things that really caught the majority of my fish. I love to flip a tube. I got some bites flipping a tube, especially in practice. I was catching a few 3 and 4 pound smallmouth flipping a tube. That just disappeared the day of the tournament. And like I said, on day one, a limit 11.5 pounds. Caught my first keeper around noon or a little after noon. Caught my last keeper at about 3:15, and 3:30 was check-in. On day two, I caught a keeper cranking. I thought the crankbait bite early in the morning was going to be on. Ran around, caught a bunch of shortfish cranking. Went to my shallow docks, flipped the baby destroyer. Caught a nice 3-pounder. Thought I was sitting pretty good with two really solid fish at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then went until almost 2 o'clock with a 3:30 weigh-in again before I caught a couple more keepers. And caught those on the shaky-headed brush hog out from under one dock, actually. So finished my day just catching shortfish after shortfish from there. So not the finish I was hoping for. Certainly our practice, I thought maybe I had a chance to catch 14 or 15 pounds a day. It didn't work out that way. That's fishing. Actually, we're sitting here giving you this video. I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow to go to Bull Shoals for the Webb Elite Championship. So hopefully we'll have some success down there. And as always, guys, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Help us out there. And all of the details to the baits, the tackle, rods, reels, etc., those will be links will be in the description below this video if you want to check those out.